The world is heading for a terrible fate. A fate many say is the end. The majority of the world believes this, and I would too if I were that oblivious. Fiction easily takes the form of facts when money is involved. Being paid to be an expert in climate change will earn someone an average of $103,000 a year. Sounds like a bit too much to be doing something that's already been done, don't you think? This also convinces me that they are in it for the money. These scientists must think they're pretty smart by taking advantage of a natural occurrence and blaming it all on CO2 emissions from humans. Sure, there has been an increase in CO2, but is it enough to cause any harm? I don't think that 0.54% of the greenhouse gases alone can do much, let alone the 0.007% that humans have contributed to that. Not to mention, greenhouse gases make up less than 1% of the atmosphere anyways. Put into perspective, humans have contributed approximately 0.0000378% of the overall atmosphere. But wait, there's more. Temperature actually drives CO2. As you can see in this graph, that proves Al Gore's graph to be the opposite of what he was saying. This not only proves scientists to be physically incorrect, but logically too. Now everyone can agree that the Earth is indeed warming, ever so slightly. But this natural cycle is no stranger to Earth, and everyone can calm down until we head into the next cooling cycle and wait for scientists to find something to blame it on all over again. One of the main concerns is that this warming is causing massive amounts of polar bears to drown because there is no ice for them to live. However, if you look very, very closely, you will notice that the polar bear is on land, and most polar bears can easily reach land. Not to mention the polar bear populations are increasing anyways. Who would have thought? Not Al Gore. Or maybe he knew this the whole time but money shut him up. NASA also states that the polar ice caps shrink 1 inch every 8 years. This means it is nearly impossible for ice caps to melt by the time we reach our next cooling cycle, at which the ice will start increasing again. What's your opinion on global warming?
Definitely here, beyond any reasonable doubt.
Do you drive an electric car?
No, I don't think it's quite ready for that yet, but not for me anyway.
If he is so concerned about global warming, then why wouldn't he want to be part of the solution? Describe your studies of global warming.
One thing that I've been responsible for and spread a lot around is a method called detection and attribution, DNA. And basically what you do is you take model predictions for the past or the future, if you wish. That's from the climate models, and you compare them with the observations. And the model's predictions can be thought of as a fingerprint. And then you want to ask if you can see that fingerprint in the real world, yes or no. And if the answer is yes, then you want to know how confident that answer is. And so a lot of the studies that we're doing now, our confidence in the similarity between the model fingerprint and the observed fingerprint is, like 99%.
So most of his work is based on simulations and predictions.
So that doesn't say that, the greenhouse thing caused all the problems, but it's one explanation. If you've got another one, good luck.
What about a natural explanation, which is the correct one?
So there's hundreds of papers out there in the literature on this, extend back into the mid-90s when we started doing this. And for comparison, we'll take long model runs with no greenhouse forcing and put them through the same analysis. So can Mother Nature reproduce the fingerprints herself that the models are predicting from greenhouse forcing? And the answer to that almost always turns out to be no. The changes that we're seeing now, you might expect some of them, but not all of them. There's no reason why they should naturally all link together. That's sort of one thing. And let's see, what was the other thing going to be? Oh, the speed at which the climate is changing. That is sort of astounding to a lot of us. Things may have happened in the past, but they happened over thousands of years. Here they're happening over a few decades.
Actually, the speed is not surprising at all and goes in line with natural climate change. What about Al Gore's idea that CO2 drives temperature?
That whole thing has been known for 200 years. And they figured out, somebody did way back then, that CO2 actually was had warming properties for the atmosphere. The amount of warming from a doubling of CO2 was computed in like 1890. Answer was 3 degrees centigrade, which is just what most of the models are giving you now. So, and that's all physics. There's no models there. There's no nothing. This is just straight physics. And that is backing up that statement that he made. Some of his statements aren't very good, but that one seems to be true.
Well, temperature actually drives CO2. How do you feel about polar wildlife?
I think it's getting screwed. I mean, that's one of the reasons for thinking there's something terribly wrong going on here now, because the Arctic is basically disintegrating right in front of our eyes. With sea ice being less and melting earlier and on and on. So there's some melting expected in Antarctica, on the West Antarctica ice sheet. I believe that is happening. More snow is piling up on Antarctica again. That's something the models predict should be happening.
They are actually living large, and the ice caps are here to stay.
So, on the other hand, the models probably are at their weakest in the polar regions, trying to predict or trying to have confidence in what they're telling us. But all you need to do is eyeball what's happening up there, and you get the impression right away that, wow, something really is wrong here.
As you can see, scientists' logical fallacies can be easily disproven, and they are well overpaid to be telling the world lies. So as the world lies in fear of nature, I will be relaxing in the warmth of Earth while it lasts.